Shoot the defense, the best podcast in the world. We're out here.
I keep saying Henry's a forward. Richie, who's the best striker you played against?
Henry.
And the fact that we are now taking our country and put our country on the map of world soccer, being the first African nation, the third world nation in the whole world to win an Olympic gold medal in soccer, it was unbelievable.
If you're going to take the time to go and get a pig head and break my locker open and wrap my clothes in it, are sending a different message to me.
I've had to protect my family from going out into the street because you'll have random people that just coming up and abusing them racially. Even some old school managers who are British, they still have the same racial undertones like the man in the street who they're trying to condemn.
Hello, welcome to Shoot the Fence. No, we haven't closed the doors. We're still here. I blame myself for being very busy, but my guests forgive me, my co-hosts forgive me, and I'm sure the listeners will forgive me. I'm Stel. I'm joined again by Rhodri Giggs and Steve Eyre. Rhodri, how you doing?
Yeah, good, mate, considering.
Considering what? What's wrong with you?
Considering the result.
Oh, that?
Against West Brom.
Well, we haven't done a show in a couple of weeks, so we've missed that Sheffield United, we missed Southampton, and we missed Everton, so, yeah.
Yeah, you've been busy, haven't you?
Well, I've been busy, but given the circumstances, I think it's kind of good that we didn't do shows after those games, because I think it'll be like Groundhog Day, like every single thing will be repeating ourselves, but anyway. And more, speaking of Groundhog Day, it's talking to Steve, because your Man City team has won again. So, how you doing, Steve, first of all?
Evening, Stel. I'm all right. Are you okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Yeah, pleased with City at the moment. Obviously, we recognised 10 weeks ago that we thought they kicked in. I think the Chelsea game away at Stamford Bridge was a real warning that they were about to do something a bit special, and then they followed it up with consistency, form, brilliance, clean sheets, and obviously lots of goals again.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's start off with the champions, shall we? Who lost 3-1 to Leicester City on Saturday. Liverpool took the lead. Really good goal from Salah. Credit goes to Firmino. Lovely bit of trickery and laying it off to Salah. But then, moment of, I wouldn't say madness, VAR decisions that went Leicester's way. Maddison equalised. And then another moment of madness that involved Liverpool's goalkeeper, Alisson, and their new defender clattering into each other. Vardy made it 2, and then Harvey Barnes made it 3. Steve, we've spoken at great length about Liverpool's injury problems. In fact, the season as a whole has been an utter nightmare for them. And I've heard a little whisper about the relationship between Salah and Mane not being good at all. It's almost irreparable. Jurgen Klopp, obviously, with his mother passing away, has been a major issue for him, which is understandable. But we can't ignore the fact that, granted, Van Dijk missing for the rest of the season. Joe Gomez is out for the rest of the season. Numerous players played out of position. The fullback, Trent, probably not recovered from COVID. Maybe he has long COVID. I don't know. But it's a terrible, terrible title defense, Steve. And we can blame the injuries as much as we want, but where are the leaders in this team?
Yeah, very true. I think Rhodri covered it. I was thinking while you were talking, Stel, I think Rhodri covered it about 5 weeks ago when we talked about United having the desire to do back-to-backs and even further than that. You'd have a quick night out, you'd recover the next day, and then you set out on the Monday to win the league again the following year. It's been proven in the English Premier League via Chelsea and Manchester City already that it's very difficult to retain the Premier League. And I have always thought that a lot of foreign players have improved the standard of the football, the speed of the football in the Premier League, but not necessarily the hunger to continue to get trophies, almost to the point that I feel that some international superstars really come to the Premier League, and once they've won it once, they tick it off, and then they almost get ready for another transfer, or they almost get ready for a European or world competition for their country. So their leaders, I still think they've got them. You can't obviously say that Jordan Henderson isn't one with the 12 months that he's had in leadership, because that's what he's not there for anything other, really. So I still believe that. You're very true when you say about Salah and Mane, they appear to be individuals not on the same page. so on and so forth. They're missing the biggest leader in Van Dijk. And I don't want to criticise the goalkeeper for not being a leader because he's been overcommitted. Now, if he was less of a leader, he would be undercommitted, but he just looks a little bit bored and he's getting involved with things in the game now, which he's losing his head and not showing any composure at all. But I never thought that Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold were leaders at all. And James Milner, it's lucky if he stays on the pitch for 90 minutes, either replaced or injured. So there's another leader off the field. So they were exceptional. We have to say, when we conceded, they were world champions, European champions, and English Premier League champions, and they all looked like leaders then. But the real best leaders actually follow it up, Stel, and do it time and time again, as Rhodri covered. And, you know, the United team of old, obviously Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, Peter Schmeichel, Mark Hughes, Brian Robson, you know, Ryan Giggs, Eric Cantona, you know, they were just, Gary Neville, they were just relentless, you feel, in continuing what's been good. And I think that's missing in a lot of footballers these days, in a lot of football teams.
I agree, mate. And the thing is, while I understand the frustration of Liverpool fans and how, again, they point to the fact they've had numerous injuries, I keep hearing, but we've had these injuries, but. Well, ifs, buts and maybes. I seem to remember Man United in 98 having numerous injuries, the tail end of the season where Arsenal went on that incredible run to win the title. That was Wenger's first title. Schmeichel was injured, all these other players. I remember John Curtis being thrown in, Ben Thornley. You know, the United team it didn't look like a United team that you recognise. And over the years, we've seen it happen to many teams. But on the flip side, I can see Jurgen Klopp's point of view from this game, because you're saying that Leicester's equaliser was offside. 3 players were offside. I don't know where the onside was, to be fair. I don't know. I've seen it 4 or 5 times. I still don't understand how they've spotted the player being onside. The second goal, though, which Andy, a Liverpool fan, pointed out to me this morning, which I didn't notice, in the build-up to Leicester's second goal, Sadio Mane has basically been wrestled to the ground by Johnny Evans, and then the ball's gone forward, and Leicester have made it 2-1. So where's the consistency of VAR there?
I've got to trust them with it. There's that many cameras these days, that many commentators, you know, and the game's stopping for minutes on end while they go and check monitors, and they've got the earpiece in. And even with that, there's been referee mistakes. We've seen the Lee Mason and Mike Dean, you know, problem that's forced one to stand down and one to go quiet because the whole world suggested it was the wrong decision. So we're now even admitting that the VAR and the guys who make the decisions aren't necessarily getting it right either. So sounds like there'll always be grey areas, but you know, you've just got to probably work on percentages, Stel, that over the course of a game and over the course of a season, they will obviously get you'd think the big decisions and most of the decisions correct, but it's being proven that they're not 100% in the decision making. So you've just got to back the referees in this. And obviously, if we're not careful, we love the game, but we'll end up talking about the officiating more than the teams and the players before we know it. We've got to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Rod, you said that Van Dijk being injured will cost Liverpool the title. Looks like Jurgen Klopp agrees with you. Statistically, Liverpool are in an utter mess. I think they've conceded 32 goals this season, and that's 1 less than what they did in the whole of last.
Yeah, he's not the best best centre half in the world for nothing. You know, if any team would miss that, but we've seen it before he arrived. You know, there were missing pieces that he put together. The keeper, then Van Dijk, and you can see him. And with Van Dijk, he just made everyone else just so much better. It's just like the Bruno Fernandes. It's you can't put your finger on it, but you can. It's just that they're just world class at what they do, and you know, without them players, they just struggle. Just put United without Bruno Fernandes, and they're with Arsenal. So, you know, the top players, especially in key areas like central defence, when they're not really that strong, really, are they? You know, when he came, he made Matip look better. He made Lovren look better. He's even, you know, let Trent and Robertson. It frees them to do what they do with the offense, because you know, he's very comfortable one-on-ones. There's no problem if he's left one-on-one with anyone. So, you know, he's tall, big, strong, quick. No one's going to outrun him. So when you lose that type of quality, yes, you can get through with 5, 10, 15 games, but for a season, you're going to feel it, mate. And obviously they're feeling it now. And by all accounts, they're fighting in the dressing room. The team's, they need to get it sorted quick because it can implode pretty quickly. If if the rumours are right and the manager leaves, then that puts them in a big hole because you just could see an exorcist there, the player just leaving, and then hopefully they're back to another 30 years.
He had to end it like that, didn't he? Jesus Christ. Fair enough. Steve, your mate Brendan Rodgers, fantastic job, fantastic result. Leicester up in second now. James Maddison has been involved in 8 Leicester goals, scoring for and assisting for in his last 9 games or something like that, which is an incredible statistic given the reliance on Jamie Vardy. Is Maddison the guy to push them forward, you think?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. At first, I wasn't sure, not about his talent. I always knew he was a great player, but I didn't know how it was going to work. There was a little spell he was out of the team, but they found a way. They found a way with Vardy out of the team through injury. They've obviously found a way with him back in it. And when you've got that talent, you just adapt quickly. And whilst I wasn't sure at first, they're a threat. So you've got one that takes the ball, scores great goals from inside and outside the box. One can sprint away from defenders. And of course, the backup, the team behind it, with Kasper Schmeichel in goal, who's 500 appearances now, I think, or absolutely superb in leadership. And as you mentioned before, Johnny Evans, they look like they've got a really, really solid foundation behind some pace and some real talent. So it's a shame about James Justin having an ACL injury because he was an unsung hero at the back, albeit he was at the back and doing great running forward. Obviously, Tielemans and Ndidi. And now Albrighton, who we've covered before on your show as well, who's very, very much unsung. So I think they're happy under the radar. I don't think there's any ego about them. I think the manager, it appears to manage and manage correctly. I know he's an excellent coach. And you see that the team are constantly developing, and City are improving and Leicester are improving. And you see Tottenham, Manchester United in a little bit of decline. And obviously then there's Chelsea. So it makes it fascinating at the top of the league that everyone's having a little bit of a spell, but the only ones who've managed to retain the curve are Manchester City and Leicester.
Oh, I agree. And I'll tell you what, the return of Ricardo Pereira for Leicester has been a revelation for him. He was fantastic last season. I think Soyuncu coming back into the side has helped. Johnny Evans again. And Amartey at right back.
Yeah,
pretty decent back line if you think about it. So I don't see why they can't cement their place in the top 4. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, and I'm sure Brendan Rodgers will be the first to admit that. They've got the Europa League to contend with, but I can't see why they can't continue this run of form. I think they're in with a bigger shot than most clubs at the moment.
Yeah, it shows as well. Vardy is. He's clearly Premier League class. I've got a hunch that he'll finish the season strong and he'll be asked to come out of retirement and play for England in the tournament, I believe. And it just shows you how fantastic it is for any football team. Rodri will support this, I'm sure. When you've got that much pace, that keeps the opposition back because you can't really press too high and leave so much space in your own half of the pitch behind your backside because he'll just run into it and beat you in a race. So that keeps defenders deep, and then obviously that makes more room in the middle of the pitch for James Maddison, because obviously opposition backlines are making that middle of the pitch huge because they don't want to squeeze the play because of Vardy. So they've got something going, and special mention for Vardy because he's done this far and this much without actually really having any injuries. And by the look of it, a bit like Harry Kane, he was not only back after 3 weeks, he's back to his best after 3 weeks. So it's another tick in the box for him that he's a top Premier League player.
Absolutely, mate. And Rod, let's talk about your mate, Sean Dyche. Kabaddi FC, 3-0 win at Crystal Palace. They went into the game as the lowest goal scorers in the league, I believe. And here they are, 3 goals at Selhurst Park, which isn't an easy thing to do, but they made it look easy. And Loughton's goal, wow. Pick that one out.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever worried that Burnley were going to, get relegated. I think he's seen the class of them. Well, he's saying class of, the Premier League experience. Palace aren't the same with Sarr and a couple of others missing. So, Sarr, Crystal Palace are a funny bunch. 1 minute they're a good team, and then the next are not so great. So Burnley caught Palace on a bad day, and yeah, that Lowton goal was a really good goal and a great win for Burnley. And first time they've scored 3 goals in a long time. So yeah, any time you win score 3 goals away from home in the Premier League is a good result. But clean sheet as well makes that long trip home from Croydon bearable.
Bearable, yeah, that's the word to use.
It's a trek that place, isn't it? It is in the middle of nowhere.
It's not great. Look, whenever I go south of London, I get a nosebleed. So not because someone hits me.
Well, I used to work in Tower Hill, and I would leave, and it would still take me an hour to get there. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And that's like, it's only like what, South London all the way over to Crystal Palace, and it's like, yeah, it's a nightmare.
Pretty, my friend, not pretty. Speaking of not pretty, Steve, Crystal Palace, poor performance, poor result. They have 16 players out of contract this summer, and a lot of them are first teamers. Andros Townsend, Van Aanholt, Benteke, Schlupp, Dan, who else? Gary Cahill. I don't know what to make of Palace because Roy Hodgson has done an incredible job keeping them in the league. And he's kept them in the top half of the table for the best part of how long? I can't remember. I mean, have they finished outside the top 10 under Roy Hodgson? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have. But I don't know how long he can keep this magic act up for, mate. Say again, Steve. Sorry, you're cutting out, mate.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he can keep it up at all moving forward in terms of the magic. I don't see any magic between now and the end of the season. I also don't see any trauma. He's a defensive coach, I think, who tries to add a little bit of magic in the last third. Rodri's already, mentioned there that Zaha's injured. So you're a defensive coach with a defensive setup of players, and your magic players not playing. Then you shouldn't be surprised that they're not producing any magic. As for the manager, I think it's possibly already been mentioned. He's finishing at the end of the season. Possibly that's not been confirmed, but it's strong enough. And equally, he might not even finish the season. So it's what they decide to do. I think if they slide down the table and do a Bournemouth, I think they might make a change. And I actually think that might happen. I think they might slide down the table. There's a lot of mentions at the moment for Easy, the talented player. But for me, he scored that amazing goal a month ago, but it doesn't look like he busts a gut to get in the penalty area. It doesn't look like he wants to get hurt to score a goal. And when he does score a goal, it'll be an amazing goal, but they're few and far between when they happen. I think they've also had a few injuries. They're ageing at the back. And one of many clubs that miss out on that amazing set of supporters they've got that cheer them on in the home game. So I don't see much for Crystal Palace. I think there'll be worse teams that will get relegated, obviously. I really believe, obviously, it's quite obvious, I think. But I don't see any upturn. I don't even see them levelling off. I don't even see an upturn, definitely. I only see a continued struggle, but it won't see them go out of the division still.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Bournemouth because I think his successor will be Eddie Howe. And I said this a few weeks ago, and Rod's probably going to start laughing, but I said there's only 2 clubs that Eddie Howe will probably join, and I said it was Palace or Newcastle. I can see him going to Palace.
Right, well, they won't have to pay compensation for his assistant now, obviously, because Jason Tindall left Bournemouth. So, presuming that they would come back together at some point, that would be a manager and assistant that would cost nothing for any football club that they join. So that's, I always thought that Sean Dyche could be a model fit the model of Crystal Palace, a defensive coach who tries to get some attacking players in the team, but it's all from a strong defensive base, keeping Burnley in the division. But of course, at that point, there would be a challenge that Crystal Palace would have to negotiate to get somebody like him in the club. But if, as you just said, Eddie Howe, who's an excellent coach, despite whatever happened to him last year, but I know that would be, free for Crystal Palace, and in a world of a pandemic, that might not be a daft idea.
I was about to say you can't trust Eddie Howe with spending money, but then again, Crystal Palace spent 30 million quid on Benteke, so there you go. Right, let's talk about City absolutely pummeling Spurs 3-0, 16 consecutive victories for Pep Guardiola's men. Rod, before we talk about City, let's talk about Spurs, mate. We thought at the beginning of the season that Jose Mourinho might get a tune out of this team. And for the first 5-6 games, I think we were right. And barring a Carling Cup or Carabao Cup final, it's been a turgid season if you think about it. I know that the highlight of their season is obviously beating Man United 6-1 and the odd victory here and there. But Spurs look out of steam. They look out of ideas. I don't know what to say anymore. And do you know what? I'm a big fan of Jose Mourinho's, but I think that's it for him. I really think that's it. He needs to just call it a day at the end of the season. I think that's it. He's done what he's got to do, hasn't he? He's won everything there is to win. Don't tarnish your reputation anymore.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Like you say, he started off so well in that documentary and he come off pretty well, I thought. And then, like you say, the start of the season, well, you know, the Bale thing's obviously not worked out because something not right there. For him to play the amount of minutes that he's played, you know, there's something not right. So, but yeah, you know, we've seen it before, haven't we? We've kind of seen it at United. It's like he started off well. Yes, he won trophies. Will that mask it if he wins the trophies at Tottenham? What, the Carling Cup? Was it what Carabao Cup? But I don't think so. Just plastering old wounds there, really. Not really fixing anything. Just so. Yeah, we'd like to say we've seen it all before, and it did look. You know, we've got to give credit to City as well. You know, they did play very, very well. You know, Tottenham beat them 2-0 only a few months ago. So yeah, it was a good performance by City. You know, no mention of that their probably two best players been out most of the season, and they're still on the 16-game run. So yeah, big one for them. And yeah, but to answer your question, is he done? I don't know. He's probably got Portugal. Probably got his country left in him, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, look, if they win the Carabao Cup and they beat Man City in the final, I think.
Can you really see that, look, Stel?
No, I can't.
The way City are playing, the way maybe for one-off game, Mourinho, one last, but you know the way the City. No, it's still a long way to go because it's April, but yeah, City like a well-oiled machine now, just getting right, just at the right time. You know, February, March, April, come round Easter. You know, you can't see him dropping too many points. 2 games possibly, but you know that's a stretch, and that's everyone else winning their games, which is not going to happen. So, you know, it's a good win for City, but yeah, Tottenham they need to win that cup just to probably keep the fans off his back and to probably keep Harry Kane as well.
Well, this is it. When Jose Mourinho said that finishing second with Man United is his greatest ever achievement, I think his greatest ever achievement will be winning something with Spurs because that club is cursed. They're cursed. The last time they won something was 2008. Prior to that was what? 2001? Was it 99? I can't remember. They win the League Cup in 99. I can't remember.
I don't know how they can because you know on paper they've got a good squad, but the way they started and it looked exciting, and then now they just like seem to have gone back to what we've witnessed when he was at Old Trafford, and you know these drab performances, like they're just it's so negative.
It seems to be since that West Ham game where they blew the 3-goal lead. Since they blew that 3-goal lead against West Ham, it's almost as if he's gone back to this old pragmatic system where it's like, okay, well we'll score a goal and we won't chase another one unless we have to.
But that's but at that point, I think it was 3-0 or 3-1. He brought Gareth Bale on. And, you know, I think from that point, he's probably looked at the table and thought, look at this fucker here. I can't trust him. Look at him. So he doesn't do the work that he should do. He doesn't put the work in that Jose demands. So, you know.
Do you think he signed him, though? Do you think that's a Daniel Levy signing?
Well, no, he would have okayed it.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course he would have. You've seen the documentary, mate. No. Stes knows I don't know if it's Des or knowing, but he's more my age because I played with him at Salford and he was at Bar Hill. Stitchin. Do you remember Stitchin, Des?
What to do? Yeah.
He was at Blackburn and he was at Blackburn. He was at Bar Hill. He's my age, so you can see that documentary where they all liaise with each other. So no, I don't think he just definitely give the okay. But why would you not take Gareth Bale? It's just like a weird one because Gareth Bale's not. He's not like a workhorse, is he? He's a bit of a luxury player, and Holdy doesn't really have luxury players, so it's a bit of a weird one. But he's definitely okayed it. I couldn't see him just bringing it in and say, "Here's Gareth Bale." He's definitely had a conversation with him.
Okay, well, Steve, Spurs have collected 16 points in 14 games, whereas Man City have taken 41 out of a possible 45. I'm not gonna say it. Actually, no, fuck. I'm gonna say it. I think the title's done and dusted now. I don't think anyone's going to catch City. I really don't see it happening. And if it does, we'll need a miracle or another pandemic to stop City from winning the league now. Sorry for sounding distasteful, but that's just how it is.
No. I want to just do this dead quick and give you all the credit, Stel, for Tottenham. I think you had a couple of guests on as well. We were marvelling at their defensive shutouts and suggesting that this is the Tottenham style with Son and Kane up front. And Kane has become this number 10 who ends up being a number 8, even back to being a number 5 in his own box. And we thought this is unbelievable Mourinho tactics and unbelievable endurance from Harry Kane. What a player. But it's proven to be that you give that much possession away in a football match. It is helpful, the odd game. But over a course and distance, or in that case, probably about 4 to 5 weeks, there's absolutely no way that football team could keep up doing what they were doing, giving the ball up and allowing England's best centre-forward to run back towards his own box and then try and score a goal in the opposition's box. And they've basically maxed out and burnt out. So that's Tottenham for you, in my opinion, in a quick nutshell. But you suggested this was the case at the time, so tip my hat to that. As for City, they've been absolutely brilliant. The manager, there was questions. Did he look tired? Did he look frustrated? Did he even want to leave? The Lionel Messi transfer, on, off. I never believed it was on, but there was certainly some speculation there was. And the team weren't functioning correctly. I was worried that we hadn't got our legs. Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva in particular, Sergio Aguero not making the pitch at all. And I thought we'd lost our legs. But like I say, it was that Chelsea result for me. We got our form and performance back, but we got our legs back. And when you consider now, these are top-class players, but, behind Aguero, Company and Kevin De Bruyne, you weren't really mentioning Phil Foden, Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Cancelo, Zinchenko, but they've all obviously, kicked in superbly. Rodri, and of course, if the season ended now, the player of the year, I'm sure everybody would agree, is Ilkay Gundogan. So, everybody stepped up, which is what you want to do. We knew they were good players. We knew they were actually great players. But when the top order have been injured, you just wonder, is anybody going to jump up to be top order? And in truth, about 8 of them have.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the Gundogan that I remember from his tenure at Dortmund prior to him getting that spine injury. I don't know what's happened all of a sudden, but as you said, if the season ends now, then he's the player of the year. There's no doubt about it. His form has been absolutely phenomenal. What do you think this is down to, Steve?
Well, obviously, the Kevin De Bruyne month out or whatever it's going to be means that he's on all the set plays. But it's that Philip Lahm tactic that Guardiola has now chosen. There was a spell where we weren't really successful, where the right back was Kyle Walker, and we thought he was doing all right, but he was on the whitewash of the touchline and he was high in the last third, and that's how City were offering width. Now the width is coming from the front players, which means the right back can't go there because there's a winger there. So what he's doing now, they're getting control of the game. Cancelo's coming in front of from the back 4 position at right back to go in front of the back 3. From right back to holding midfield, which allows another player to thicken it up in the middle of the pitch and you don't get counter-attacked. City are that good at the back now, 1v1 with Diaz in the form of Stones, that you can play the 2 centre-halves and whichever left-back he chooses on the day. Cancelo becomes a spare player in the middle of the pitch and outnumbers the opposition, and you're safe then to have attacking play, whether it be Rodri a little bit or Gundogan a lot. You can run into the opposition's box a lot more because you've got your holding midfield mate, Fernandinho or Rodri, and now you've got Cancelo, because we've mastered the way of getting him from right back to centre midfield in play. And for me, that's what's happened. And we're seeing with Gundogan when he gets there, it's like swivel hips, so he can go off his right or his left. His finishing is really, really cool, and he just keeps getting in there. But the timing of his runs are scary. This is someone that isn't really noticed for having any like genuine pace, but it just shows you the speed of thought. He just slips off people's shoulders, just runs off the back of people, and people with that talent and that brain, you only need a yard, and he's probably one of the best I've seen at getting a yard or two in he'd probably get it in a phone box. He's unbelievable.
Yep, and he's. I'll tell you what, I was surprised to see him be a regular in this Man City team, given the injuries that he sustained. So credit to him for being injury free since joining the club. I think he's been very lucky in that respect. But at the same time, when you look at the rest of the team, and as you mentioned, without De Bruyne, without Aguero, 5-6 months ago, you're saying, well, without these two players, Man City are going to really struggle. But here we are now saying, well, without Gundogan, they're really going to struggle. Yeah. Without Stones, they're going to struggle. Without Neves, they're going to struggle. And I think it's 14 clean sheets this season out of 23 games, which is unheard of, really. I think the last time we had a statistic like that was, in 2008, when United had 17 at this stage of the season. So defenses win titles. So they say, and it's brilliant on Gundogan. There was a reason I noticed that Guardiola used to play him in all the big games. They're all big games, but they're super big games. Gundogan always played. Now, he wasn't in this form that he's in now, but he was always picked. Scored against Manchester United, scored at Brighton to help the team win the league. So clearly a big game player, and now he's just got a little bit more license to do it. And of course, as everybody talks about pressing these days, and City are doing that because they're full of beans, full of confidence, and that 6-second rule, 5 seconds with City probably. I think they get the ball back pretty quickly now. They rarely give it away. I think we're up to 73 possession average in the games, mostly, and we've even got the goalkeeper making assists. So we're in a really good spot, mate. Rod, what are you doing there? Taking photographs. You're taking selfies while we're doing the show. Jesus Christ, mate. What's going on with this guy?
He's not taking them of him. He's taking them of me. He sends them back. He sends me back one a day through the week.
This guy. Jesus Christ. Oh, blimey. All right. Okay, Rod. Southampton, they lost 2-1 to Wolves today. I think that's their 6th loss in a row in the league. Down to 12th in the table, and Hasenhüttl wasn't happy with VAR. He's saying it's killing the game, but then he went on to say that the decisions aren't being made in the stadium, they're being made at Stockley Park. So I don't know if he means that VAR is the problem or the people that are making the decisions in the VAR truck being the problem. That being said, we've spoken about VAR on numerous occasions, and it is what it is. We just got to like it. Whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. If you don't like it, then watch something else. Don't watch rugby because they use something similar. But that being said, I don't know what to say about Southampton. Last season, they were hit with 9 against Leicester. They turned it around. They got hit for 9 against United. But it's almost as if the wind is completely out of their sails now. And I think they're lucky that the teams below them are worse off. You're on mute, Rod. You got to start all of that again.
No. It is a weird one because they did start so well, and they seem to have blew a gasket, and they are a high pressing team, a high intensity, high working team. Is it caught up with them? Is the squad big enough? For that kind of workload for the players they've got. I don't know. I haven't looked into it too deep, but they have seemed to have fallen off a cliff. And like you said, it's a good job that the teams below them have got the amount of points that they got, or Southampton probably in deep trouble. I don't think they'll get sucked into it, but they need to turn it round and turn it round quick. But I still think they'll back the manager. He seemed to get backed really well when they got beat, when United stuck 9 past them. So he was quite overwhelmed with that. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. So yeah, it's still it's still a result business, but it still needs to pick up some results because we see Fulham picking up results. West Brom, that's only a point, but these teams are picking up points, so we don't want to get sucked into it. Like I said, you need to pull out of it and come out of it quick.
Did you see the handball decision, the penalty decision on Bertrand? Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Was that a handball to you? And okay, let me split that actually. Under the new laws or rules, is that a handball in your opinion?
No.
Okay, any reason?
It's just not on ball.
Even under the new laws?
Yeah, but new laws are crap, aren't they?
I'm not disagreeing with that one, but
Well, I understand, and yeah, but technically, yeah, but it's a penalty, but it's stupid. We've all agreed it's a stupid law. Who's made this law? Some square in it in a suit.
I think IFAB.
Yeah, so probably some dick like rant bants or whatever. I don't know. Some person who does not know anything about football. It's probably one of them people who's made that decision. You know, it's just it's a weird one.
Fair enough. Steve, good win for Wolves then, away from home. Again, another team that's had an up and down season, unlucky with injuries, very similar to Liverpool, really, in terms of losing their best player in Jimenez. But they seem to have turned a corner, a little bit of a corner, and they're doing well. They're moving up the table. I think, where are they now? They're up to 12th, a point ahead of Southampton. So I don't really know what to say about Wolves this season. They had such a great season last year in terms of their campaign in Europe. I think they got to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, didn't they? If I'm not mistaken. And they went on a good run in the cups. But that being said, I think we knew that the steam was going to come out of him eventually. And Connor Cody, we've seen making a few mistakes. Semedo, the right back, I don't rate at all. I don't know what possessed him to sign him. But then again, he's probably a Mendes client, so we know his affiliation with the club. So how do you think their season is going to pan out? Because when you look at the table, Leeds are 2 points ahead of them, Arsenal 4 points ahead of them. I think they're going to be a mid-table club for the rest of the season, aren't they?
Yeah, I think he's still proving to be a great coach this time, because I don't think it'll get any better for Wolves than they had last year. But every time now, there's just been a little bit of trauma for them. Obviously, losing Jota, losing Jimenez, starting to lose football matches differently. You just think, are they on the slide? And he just seems to nip it in the bud and then, turn the team back round again. Like I say, I don't think they're going to threaten and challenge, and the massive respect they got last year, I think, was deserved, but I think that was as good as it gets. But he seems to be really, really good that can just, unlike others, when it gets to a little bit of a crisis, he seems to just hold himself together and hold the team together, and then they're steady for a bit, and then they just start nudging forward again, and you get the feeling they're just doing that presently.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to another mid-table clash. I can't believe I'm saying this. Arsenal and Leeds United. Arsenal, mid-table team, Rod. 4-2 win against Bielsa's Leeds. Arsenal 4-0 up after 57 minutes, and then Leeds scored twice. Aubameyang scoring a hat-trick, his first hat-trick in the league for Arsenal. Big win for him. Big win for him given the circumstances. But again, is this going to be another game where we talk about how good Arsenal were, how bad Leeds were defensively, and then next week when we start talking about Arsenal, we'll be going back to the same old shit about them not being consistent enough?
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what they're striving for. That's what Mikel Arteta's working for, is consistency. So, yeah, it's a good win for him. But, we've seen it with Leeds, Leeds are a weird bunch as well, because yes, they're exciting to watch, but they have had a few batterings this year. But I think you can only see them getting better if they improve and get better players. But yeah, Arsenal, it's all about consistency still, especially for for a club like Arsenal. It's consistency. And that's what we'll be striving for. But you've got to have the players. He's not got the squad. He's not got the players. So it's a good win. Good win for him.
I think we'll leave it there with Arsenal. I think we've said enough about them over the past few weeks. We know what's going to happen anyway, so whatever. Steve,
but it's a big win for them though, because it's Leeds could have easily turned them over, and then the back to square one again, all negativity. So yeah, it's a big win for them though.
Yep. True. And Steve Bielsa, wow, this is an interesting one. He said that Arteta prepared better than he did for the game. That's unbelievable, isn't it? Why would the manager come out and say, my tactics were all wrong? You know, I know Calvin Phillips was missing and Bielsa said something along the lines of they couldn't cope with Arsenal's pressure when they were building from the back. I'm sorry, you're going to Arsenal and you're trying to build from the back, knowing that they press high. Again, I'm going to get a lot of stick from Leeds fans. I couldn't care less. But what's going on with this guy? Is he just bulletproof that no one's allowed to criticise him?
Well, if that was Sir Alex Ferguson, either during his career or after it, people would suggest that I'm not sure how many times he actually took the blame for a defeat. I can't remember him actually doing this, but at the same time, his team at Leeds United, Bielsa, are a very young set of players, and he may just be diverting the attention away from them externally to suggest that he'll take all the flack and the attention for the result, that he didn't prepare his team properly, to possibly stop the media and the social media picking holes at his own players who are young and possibly a bit delicate than compared to him. He's been round the block. He gets a load of plaudits. The people talking about him being the coach of the year, which he's clearly a fantastic coach and manager, but I don't see those type of plaudits being in line with his achievements. But obviously, at the same time, if it is a psychology thing that, you know, he's taking the blame for it and taking it on the chin for himself, then I think that has a lot of credibility about it. And all of a sudden, we're not talking about the back four or the goalkeeper, and just like we're doing now, we're talking about the manager. So I didn't know he'd made those comments, Stel. So this is just straight off the bat from me, but I can only presume it's an honesty one and it's genuine, and he'll learn from that. And if it's not an honest one, he'll be talking to his players differently in the change room and on the training ground, but through the media, he's taking the blame for the result himself. And when you do that, and you're in credit like he is, probably everybody forgets about it and moves on to the next fixture. So it could be quite smart.
Well, it is, but I remember they beating Crystal Palace the other day, and they were receiving all the plaudits for their defensive work and how they defended in numbers, and they got men behind the ball and they worked as a unit, which is great. That's what you expect. But then when you hear that today they've conceded 4 goals or more for the 5th time this season.
Yeah. Well, they must be knackered. You saw Luke Ayling on the telly yesterday, how much he runs forward and how much he runs back, and he described it as fun. It's only fun when you win. So they must be, you know, you can't run forward and run back and get your timing right. If you it's a recovery run for a reason. Your recovery, you know, you're trying to, you know, block a hole, fill a gap, stop a cross, stop a shot, stop a goal. So, you know, there's loads of times you'll do it and it'll be heroic, but there's loads of times you don't. And if they're going to be that cavalier in going forward, you know, they've scored two goals again away from home. They are going to be what we've said in the past, Stel, which is very much hit, miss, or maybe, which will see them safely in mid-table and quite exciting to watch. But in the end, I think you run out of gas. I think you run out of legs, and I think you run out of spirit in putting all that running in. And I think you end up being more of a miss than a hit, shall we say?
Yeah, that's right. Want to add to that, Rod?
No. Covered everything.
Covered everything. That's Leeds in a nutshell. Okay, fair enough. Right, let's talk about another team in a nutshell, Rod. United, Man United, that is. 1-1 draw against West Brom. Said it before we started recording the show, that it's a good job we didn't record after the Everton game, after the Sheffield United game, because I'm pretty sure we'll be saying the same shit time and time again. Out of ideas, not great, not clinical enough, players going missing. I don't know what else to say, man. I really don't know what else to say. Tell me what you made of the game.
It starts from just the start, doesn't it? We've gone back to we were like 3 months ago. That, you know, you can't start a Premier League game no matter, you know. You give these teams something to hang on to, and that's what West Brom did. You know, yes, they defended very well, but you know, the start. United teams have always started well, and of late they haven't done that. And yes, they've got away with it of late because they've gone behind, they've come back, but in the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's come to bite them and caught up with them. You know, it's just basic, absolute basic defending. A cross comes in, you go and attack it. Your position, everything. It's just poor. It's just poor for Manchester United defender. And it's not like the first, second, or third. It's multiple mistakes. But the manager keeps on playing him. So this one's down to the manager. He keeps on playing him. It's same with David De Gea. He keeps on making mistakes. So why is he playing? So he's backing these players, and Martial is the same. It's like why is he not playing Greenwood? Or yes, he's young, but he can't be tired. He's not hardly. He's saying I don't think he played 120 minutes. I don't think he played all the game in the week, where Rashford, other players did. I'm pretty sure you could get 60 minutes out, and where Martial, it's just slap the days. You don't get the quality from Rashford on the right that you do on the left, so you lose that as well. But yeah, it's all about the start. So if you don't start well and you give away goals poorly as that, then you're going to suffer.
Well, this is it, and I'm glad you mentioned Martial because we spoke about him weeks ago. I think I can't remember which game it was. Was it Leeds United? It was one of the games where he scored, and you said he needs to be consistent. He needs to be consistent because if you don't have that consistency, you're not going to get results, and on top of that, you're not going to be seen as a top quality player. And people are going to be listening who are Anthony Martial fans will say, "Well, what about Marcus Rashford? They had a stinker." Yes, Marcus Rashford did have a stinker today. And I think that what he's doing for the country... He did have a
stinker, mate, but sometimes he did look threatening. Martial did give him nothing.
Yeah, but this is what I was going to get at. I mean, look, Martial, whenever he gets the ball back to goal, he's going to get clattered into and he loses the ball when his head drops. He's got no fight in him. He's got nothing in him. He's not that kind of player. When the going gets tough, he just hides. That's what he does.
Sorry, Plum stop.
No, Karen.
You've got to go to what Stel said at the start of the show. It's a mentality, about winning the league. Yes, he scored how many goals last season? Right, I've got to beat that score. I've got to get 20 odd plus whatever he scored last year. What has he got now? Like 5 or 6? He's not even nowhere close. So it's all about being consistent, especially at a team like Manchester United, or you can't argue if he gets shipped out. He's in a position where he needs to assist or score goals. If he doesn't, then see you later. Because Rashford will do a better job out there, and Greenwood would be better on the right. They've got a kid that they just bought from Atlanta in Italy who looks really good. So he's not far away. So it looks like if he doesn't sharpen up, you can't carry passes anymore, especially the way City are playing. If you want to keep up behind them or bridge that gap, you can't have any passengers. And at the minute, Lindelof, Martial, and David De Gea has cost us a lot, and they're three passengers, key players that we just can't do it.
I think the same can go for Harry Maguire, though, mate. I mean, crying out loud, Everton's equalised the other day. Don't know what he was playing at. And today, I think he got lucky with that striker that bundled him off the ball, and they had to make a great save in the last 20 minutes.
Maguire is a better defender when he's not playing next to Lindelof.
He's a better defender when he's not playing.
Well, no. When someone's got 4 relegations on your CV, it's not good. It's not good.
Here we go. Come on, Steve. Bring it on.
Well, he is, and I mean, in support of him, even though I'm a Manchester City supporter, I've known the kid since he was a schoolboy. I know the family a little bit, the brothers, but he's a nice lad. But he's a second centre half, like John Stones. But I, whether the club, the 80 million tag, which has got nothing to do with him, someone has decided to call him a leader. Somebody has decided to call him a captain or give him he's none of the above. He's a second centre half. United have paid 30 million, much too more for him than they should have had. He gets beat by Sheffield United and goes home and goes straight on his computer and puts his passing stats all over social media, which somebody is allowed to do, which I just cannot believe. But yeah, he's used to losing. He's had 4 relegations and he can't ask of others because he's absolutely maxed out trying to cope himself. I think he needs to be. He's always available and he appears to be a really nice lad. but his character ends there. He's no leader. He's not vocal. He doesn't look like he's an organiser. And his body language doesn't leave anything on you that inspires you watching him or playing alongside him. So he's no leader. So that needs to be taken off him. And if, just like John Stones, he can be developed by keep playing and the games bring you on and some good coaching, but left alone with the inflated opinion of his character, I think that would help massively, because he's none of the things that people say about him and he suffers with it.
But Steve, who's doing the defensive coaching at United? Because I look at this back line, and the best back line was available. I wouldn't say it was available to that. I think I'd select Bailly over Maguire. That's my personal opinion. But then I'm thinking, well, who's coaching these defenders? Because it's the same mistakes time and time again, and these are elite level. You know, Rodri takes the piss out of the Cypriot League and says it's a tin pot league. And yes, the defensive side of it is shit. I've seen defending out there. It's abysmal. But then when I look at the Premier League, and I say, hang about, the style of defending or the type of defending is no different to what it is in Cyprus, in Turkey, in Malta. It's the same shit. It's like they don't get the fundamentals correct. They don't get the basics correct. And these are elite footballers. Sorry, elite footballers.
Yeah, well, I think the analysts do a lot of work these days and deliver to the team. So obviously, you know, they've probably not played the game. They've not got a defender on the coaching staff, but they've got everything else. They've got ex-players in Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan, and now Darren Fletcher. They've got a youth developer from Tottenham.
And none of them were defenders, were they?
No, absolutely not. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was an outstanding striker, often from the bench. And Kieran McKenna came from Tottenham's youth department. I think possibly he was about to leave. Nicky Butt gave him a role at United, and he's grown as United have put more young players in the first team squad. So they've got a mix of lots of things, but not everything. And they don't certainly seem to have a goalkeeping coach of any name, which you don't have to have. But I know he's got relegations on his CV as well. The manager's got relegations on his CV. The captain's got relegations on his CV. So all of a sudden, your so-called leaders, your goalkeeper teacher, your first team manager, I think Mike Phelan was relegated with Hull, your captain who plays every game, it's got relegations written all over it, and you wonder why the team aren't as successful as you want them to be. I'm not.
Yeah, the goalkeeping coach, I mean, I don't know who it is, but Tony Parks was employed as the goalkeeping scout. But for crying out loud, you talk about a goalkeeper that's won European trophies while he was at Spurs. Get him to coach the place. He was coaching at Watford. Get him to coach the goalkeepers, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I didn't know he was on United staff. I mean, nothing against the United goalie coach. He doesn't have to be Peter Schmeichel or Alex Stepney to be one of United's best ever goalkeepers to automatically go on the staff. He could be the best goalie coach in the world. And I think they've just improved the medical department with a new head of their department. I'm expecting the injuries, which have actually been very good, to be even better with him in position, called Robin Sadler. But yeah, the strength of expertise leaves little on me, to be honest with you. Whilst they have attributes as players, they've certainly not been round the coaching block, and maybe it's a case of learning on the job, which we have actually accepted that Solskjaer has done and done well this season. But maybe now they just possibly look like they are coming off it a little bit now. It'll be interesting to see. It feels like they are. Pogba was playing well, got injured, he's out of the team. But everything that Ollie had turned it round just feels like it's curtailing backwards a little bit to me now, Stel.
Yeah, I agree. And I think right now United's main focus should be trying to sustain a top four berth, because Europa League going to be out of their hands. That's the way I see it. There are too many teams in that competition that are hungrier, that want it. That's my honest opinion. Carabao Cup out of that. FA Cup, okay, Leicester City's on the horizon. They're another team that you can't take lightly at all. So there's got to be a focus on the title, or I don't say the title, I mean the top four. But that being said, as Rod clearly stated, and I agree with him, there are a lot of players there that aren't built for that. They haven't got the minerals to do it. So what are we doing here? What are we doing having this conversation?
I could do it. Well, obviously they finished in the top four, and they're going to look to finish second and see that the curve is still on the upturn, and they're narrowing the gap to become title winners again. Gary Neville, being a big cheerleader, suggesting They could, they surprised him, but they could, be chance title winners potentially. And now he's possibly saying that it's a year too early, so he's buying him a bit more time via the media. And that might be what they see as progression still, getting into the top 4 for the Champions League last year, beating Leicester on that last day, and then narrowing the gap towards the top. And if that's the case, they're probably going to do that.
Gary Neville's such a fucking smart ass. He should pick up the phone and ask Ollie, well, listen, I'll come and coach your defenders.
No, but he's already been down that road and he failed miserably.
Well, yeah, of course, but he didn't speak the language, did he?
Yeah, but he's obviously took the easy option out. And
no hablo español.
Stayed in the studio. No, but he should, because he's not really in that. Oh, Phil Neville, he was there and he failed as well. So yeah, there could be a big transformation, a big clear out as well. There's some players there that he's got big decisions. If De Gea makes another couple of bad errors at the end of the season, does he stay? Does he keep Martial? Pogba, does he stay? And then who do you bring in? So we definitely need
Van der Beek, remember?
Yeah, but
unlock Van der Beek.
Van der Beek's not really had a good chance, has he?
No, he hasn't. But when he has come on, I haven't seen anything special about him. Again,
some players. Stel will say this. Some players are happy to come off the bench and just not played and can play. Some players need time and game time, and you can't. It's hard for me to criticise a bloke that just gets game time here, there, and you're getting no rhythm. You're a new club. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes do nothing, and then boom, you come in, you're at the ground running, and you're off. It's not everyone. Everyone's like that. So, he's a different type of player as well. You can see he's a good one-touch, two-touch player. If you get him in the right areas, you just got to get him in the key areas. So, I think you've got to give him time. You can see the quality, though. You just got to, where do you fit him in?
Okay, fair enough. Well, I don't think there's really much to say about West Brom.
You need someone. Cavani's come in now, and Cavani's done well. But, he's 30-odd. He needs the breaks. He needs someone of equal quality to come in, but you haven't got that. So obviously Martial is not up to the quality he was last year. Mason Greenwood is still learning his trade out on the right, but I'm sure he'll come in eventually. But at the minute, you need, Cavani. Yes, he's great and his movement's great, but he's 30-odd. Can't keep him playing him week in, week out, and 2 games a week. He's going to catch up with him, and that's what it looked like the first 45 minutes until we scored a goal, and then it's kind of biting up. But really, you didn't see Cavani all game.
That's right. Well, there isn't much to say about West Brom because I think we know what we're going to say, so I can't be asked to fucking discuss that. But Steve, big win for Fulham. And I'll tell you what, Josh Maja, who was more famous for appearing on the Sunderland documentary, scored twice on his Premier League debut for Fulham. And that's a great result for him, especially given their opponents, Everton. Yeah,
great win for them. Great performance and a clean sheet, and it just thickens it up a little bit at the bottom of that Premier League now. And I think that all those Newcastle fans will be looking over the shoulder now, thinking, they thought they would be safe with what they've done up to this point, but they won't be. They're going to have to get some results themselves because Fulham, Burnley, Sheffield United, and West Brom, all of them. Sheffield United and West Brom have got too much to do, but there's fight in their teams, and there's improvement in their performances. And with Fulham, you kind of like, where would they be? You're not going to be able to pull this, straight away, but where would they be with those missed penalties if they'd have gone in and turned into goals and points? They would be, they'd be, in a far healthier position. So they're obviously capable. They've had that terrible look and judgment from the penalty spot. They've had indifferent performances, but they look like they're an improving team and an improving manager. So they could put a little bit of scare on the Toon Army, I think, and they could end up swapping places by the end of the calendar month. Well, possibly a bit longer.
Well, this is it. I think Newcastle is 7 points ahead of Fulham, but Newcastle play Man United next. I don't know who Fulham have got, but
I think you've got Chelsea soon, Newcastle as well. And I think Newcastle have got Chelsea and Man United
tomorrow. Newcastle have got Chelsea tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I'll tell you what, it don't look pretty for Steve Bruce at the moment. It doesn't look pretty at all. But yeah, Rod's mate, Scotty Thingy is doing a remarkable job so far, I think. Anyway, I mean, look, for them to even be in with a shout of staying up at this stage of the season is fantastic. But that being said, Sheffield United are only 7 points behind them. So you just never know. You just never know. And we were ruling out Sheffield United weeks ago, but it looks like they could.
I still am. Still ruling out Sheffield United and West Brom. I think they've got too much to do, and I think they'll be better, but I think they'll be inconsistent. I can't see how they can possibly go on great or even good form. I think they'll go on improved form, and I think they'll rue their start of the season.
Well, put it this way, we mentioned Crystal Palace earlier. Palace are only 11 points ahead of Fulham. Now, 11 points sounds like a lot at this stage, but then again, it really isn't when you think about it. When there's 15 games to go. If you look at Spurs' form, 14 points out of 16 games, I think, or the other way around, 16 points out of 14 games. If Crystal Palace have that kind of form and they continue playing badly, the teams below them will smell blood.
But without their X factor, their magic dust, if you like, that we talked about, I still believe Roy Hodgson, supposedly, you hear Danny Murphy in particular talk about him all the time and being an excellent defensive coach. That 11 points still, I think, will be protected. It might not be as healthy as that. It might go down to 8 or 7, but I think he'll do enough in a game or two that'll get a shutout and maybe another shutout. And then you keep getting the odd nil. Although it doesn't look like it at the moment, you'll actually go forward and stay in the game and you'll get a victory. They'll lose more games than they'll win, I think, Crystal Palace. But I think his defensive setup and nature will keep Crystal Palace in games, keep them competitive, and will keep them in the Premier League.
I agree, mate. Well, to some extent. Rod, it's interesting that Steve mentioned Crystal Palace and how earlier on he said that they've suffered without the fans being there. I think the same can be said about Everton, because I think today's defeat is now their third loss in the last 4 home league games. Unheard of, really, if you think about it, with Everton, Goodison Park and all that.
Yeah, it's a difficult place to go. As one of them old type grounds. It was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago, actually, when I was watching it. It was one of them grounds where you're watching a game behind a post, because it's like Highbury. Sometimes when you get stuck in Highbury, you'd be stuck behind a post. It was one of them old type grounds. But yeah, it's one of them where they're right on top of you. So they definitely would have helped them today. So yeah, it was a great result for Fulham, though. Great result. But same thing with Everton. They seem to be inconsistent. I know they're up there and they're doing really, really well, but when they seem to get a few good results and then have a bad one. So it's like 3 steps back and 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So they're still up there, though. They're still doing a really, really good job, and Angelotti seems to have turned them around, but yeah, it's a poor result from there. You'd expect them to win Fulham at home.
What would you say if I told you this stat? 1 clean sheet in the league at home in their last 15 games, Everton.
Yeah, that's surprising, that with being Angelotti, an Italian, historically Italians have been pretty solid, especially the AC Milan team he was in. And the AC Milan teams he coached as well. He played for Reze, he played with Costa Curta, he played with them all, Maldini. So, he's not got none of them players there, but he's still got half decent players there, and that's surprising, that, because you can't win anything if you haven't got a base. You see it with City now; they're solid at the back. All the good teams really, with Liverpool, when they were solid, you've seen what happened to them when they've lost their defenders. So you've got to have a good base, and that's surprising. That only 1 game in 15. Yeah, that's surprising, that. But we still seem to be picking up results.
Spence, I didn't see the game. Did Calvert-Lewin not make the game? Is he injured and not made it?
They didn't make it. No.
Who played centre forward?
Sigurdsson, I think, or for like a false 9.
It's going to be difficult without the best. Calvert-Lewin is the first or second best centre forward this season in the Premier League. So that'll be a loss, because there's a style of play difference there straight away. You're crossing it to someone who can't head it. You're playing a floated or a long ball up to someone who can't get hold of it. And you want everything to Sigurdsson's feet for him to turn around on a sixpence and curl it probably in a top corner, which is 1 in 100. So you can see the style of play, suffering without Calvert-Lewin. He'll probably be an even better player for not playing.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's remarkable. Okay, I understand why he made these changes because of the FA Cup exploits, and it must have tired them out. I know Keane and Yeremina, the two natural central defenders or the regular central defenders, were on the bench. Also, I think, who else was on the bench? Alan, the central midfielder they got from Napoli. I know he's had his injury problems. He was on the bench. Iwobi was on the bench. Bernard was on the bench. So a lot of their best players were sat on the bench. But that being said, I look at the back line. Seamus Coleman, how long has he got left? I don't know how long he can keep going up and down that flank for. Godfrey and Holgate, relatively inexperienced, playing together. Dina's just come back from an injury. Okay, I know he did well at Old Trafford. Doucouré, Davis and Andre Gomez in the middle of the park. Again, it's a difficult one. But I'm surprised with the result. I'm surprised with the performance. And speaking to some Everton fans full time, over Twitter, I was direct messaging them. They were saying Fulham wanted it more than us. I'm thinking, well, you got the Merseyside derby at the weekend. Surely you need to put in a performance. At least say, right, we're up for this one.
You'd have thought so, Stel. You'd have thought so, but who knows? Who knows? And unless literally, honestly, unless you're Manchester City, and that's not just because I'm a supporter, and they had these problems last year, you could actually go through the whole league apart from Manchester City and say that everybody's biggest problem is inconsistency in one shape or form. For the likes of United and Chelsea, it's just for 2 or 3 weeks at a time at most, and for the others, it happens every single month. For City, it's not happening at all, and that's probably why they'll be champions. And it's something inconsistency. If you could put your finger on it, these managers, they'd be getting even more money for the job. But you've got to credit the Wolves manager. We've already suggested that he's nipped in the bud. Arteta has nipped it in the bud, and I'm sure that Ancelotti will too at Everton. But inconsistency seems rife still.
Absolutely.
We're talking about fans there, Stel. Imagine if United had the fans at Old Trafford, because that's where they've dropped. That's where they've been inconsistent. They've been consistent away from home, but that fell the last couple of weeks. But yeah, like Steph says, it's everyone else apart from City is just so inconsistent. And,
I don't think United have suffered in the first 75, 80 minutes of games, Rod. But I think they've suffered more than anybody. You've been watching them for 20 years or more. That 12th man of Manchester United, where Man United got all those late goals that they were famous for. I know Rashford did it in the last minute. I think that was against Wolves, but United were almost famed for getting late goals at Old Trafford, and that was largely down to the crowd. So I imagine that's where they miss it.
I think you go back to all the quality sides. I remember that you remember as well the Liverpool sides. They always used to score late on. All the top sides, they seem to score late on because they just time to tie up. Barcelona the same. City to a certain.
To be honest with you, Rod, City did it when they won the league. Sterling and Mahrez, if you remember, they did it about 3 times each. You're right.
Yeah, they pass teams off the park, and teams just can't do it for 90 minutes, and that's when they tie the last 15 minutes, and that's where you get your goals, and that's where you see once the one goes in, the 2 or 3 usually goes in because they're just knackered.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I think that's pretty much it for the review. Are there any games that I've missed? Any games?
You've not talked about one football team. I don't think you have anyway.
Brighton and Villa.
And Mr. David Moyes and his West Ham and his Dogs of War.
Oh, are they? They're playing. They're playing.
Jesse Lingard.
They're playing tomorrow, aren't they?
Are they playing tomorrow?
They're playing Sheffield United tomorrow.
So Villa playing tonight?
They drew 0-0 with Brighton on Saturday. That's how.
Oh, right, yeah.
Such an unforgettable match right there. But So Chelsea, Newcastle tomorrow. Say a prayer for Newcastle because I think Thomas Tuchel is going to tickle his players. Jurgen Klopp hugs his players, and Thomas tickles them, doesn't he? Tommy Tickle. So and West Ham have got Sheffield United. So it's David Moyes against Chris Wilder. That'll be an interesting one at the London Stadium, which means that West Ham are going to win because they've got no fans in the stadium, and they only win when there's no fans in the stadium. So Anyway, that's it, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss? Have we forgotten anything? No,
not for me. No, not for me, mate. But thanks for having us on, mate. As always, good to see you both.
Absolute pleasure. And Rod, have you recovered from the Super Bowl? Because I know you watched it the other week, didn't you?
Yeah, no penny pinching in Tampa. I told you that.
Okay.
The Glazers aren't penny pinching in Tampa.
No, they're not. How much they're paying? What's his name?
Who?
The quarterback. What's his name?
To be fair, mate, they're not paying him massive amounts. If you put it, the top quarterback's probably getting paid 40 million. Brady's probably getting paid half of that.
Liam Brady.
Tom.
Oh, Tom Brady. Okay. There you go. Right.
But still they've got a quality team though, of all top talent. So, like I say, they're spending the money there.
Well, they're the best team in the world, aren't they? In a competition where it's only played in America.
Well, yeah, world champ.
World champions, yeah. Well, they can't beat the London Monarchs. Do you remember that when they had all these different teams? They had the Barcelona Dragons, London Monarchs, whatever they have in Europe. Oh, whichever one. They played at Wembley Stadium, didn't they? The London Monarchs. I can't remember which one was it. Oh, fucking! I need to find out.
Is that when they employed Clive Allen from Tottenham Hotspur?
Yes.
Yeah.
London Monarchs. I go out. London Monarchs. I'm just
kills me. I like when you interview Harry Kane. He says, "Yeah, I might think about kicking, later." Why the fuck would you want to be like England striker and then go and sit on a bench and just kick like field goals every like?
Oh mate, here you go. NFL Europe. Birmingham Fire. Wait, what's this? No, European teams. Amsterdam Admirals, Berlin Thunder, Cologne Centurions, Jesus Christ, Hamburg Sea Devils, Scottish Claymores. Fuck off.
Yeah, it run for a few years, doesn't it? It's not.
London Monarchs, 91 to 98.
Never going to catch an over here. We play rugby. We don't need all that helmet and shoulder pad business. We're men.
There you go. And on that note,
watch a proper game.
There you go. On that note,
like the Welsh battering the Scots this weekend.
What are you talking about now?
Oh, the Six Nations. We beat the Irish last week, and we beat the Scottish this week. The English next week.
So you've got England next, and then after that?
Probably the French, then the Italians, the whipping boys.
Ah, okay. So it's European nations.
Six Nations. There used to be 5 nations that Italians come in. I don't know why, because they never win a game.
Make up the numbers, I guess. But hey.
Yeah.
Oh, well. That's Rhodri educating me on rugby once again. Thank you very much, Rhodri.
Hey, it's a great. Listen, it's interesting. You know why? Because the conversations that you can hear live with the referee and the players, all conversations, with the TMO, everything's very clear, no controversy, nothing. You can hear it on the mic, through the TV, where they can have conversations with the players, dialogue, you can hear everything. Why do we not have that in the Premier League?
Because millions...
Don't tell me, you did fucking that. Well, cut it out then. If you're swearing, you're off.
No. The reason why they don't do that is because there are hundreds upon hundreds of millions of pounds spent gambling for the Premier League. And I think it's a... I'm not going to say what I think it is, actually. I'm going to leave that opinion to myself. But yeah, I think it's a dodgy league anyway. But whatever. It is what it is.
It's not. We're not in Cyprus. Come on.
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that Cyprus isn't corrupt. I know it is. I've seen it with my own eyes.
no fan clubs are getting bombed there.
No, or referees' cars.
There you go.
Mike Dean is so lucky he doesn't live in Cyprus. Fuck me. Anyway, that's it for another week. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.